listening to Pop This, the podcast where three women talk about pop culture. Here are your hosts, Lisa Christiansen, Andrea Gin, and Andrea Warner.
So I have this, I wouldn't say I have bad eating habits, but I have interesting eating habits. And what I like to do when I come home is just like go through the fridge and put little pieces of food on a plate, like whatever. I don't really like to make a meal unless it's a weekend or something. And now I find out what I've been doing all along has become a TikTok trend called girl dinner. Have you heard of this?
I vaguely did. Yeah.
Oh, you have? Wow. Okay.
You heard of girl dinner.
Tell us what it is. Tell us what it is.
Well, it is exactly what I was saying is that, women don't want to go and make a meal. So they just go in and basically they're making antipasto plates or a charcuterie almost. And somebody, without thinking, I guess, that this is not a new thing, took a photo of it, put it on TikTok, called it girl dinner. And it took off. So to the point that it was a story in the New York Times last weekend.
You know, I gotta say, I do think anything can end up being a story in the New York Times.
Yeah, apparently,
like
throwing something on a plate. Like I came home here tonight, and I buy a ridiculous amount of or number. I'm not sure which one it would be of cherry tomatoes every week. I'm obsessed with them. I love them. I can just keep eating them. And I just came home and had mozzarella cheese. And took some basil from my garden and some cherry tomatoes and ate that. And I went, wow, look at me. I'm participating in a TikTok trend. My girl dinner.
Wow. Good for you.
Yeah, right?
I mean, so I guess all sort of
Did you put it on TikTok?
I did not. We've discussed my problems with TikTok. So I have to try and stay away as much as possible.
But so is all are all sort of
appetizer
grazing sort of tasting things or
yeah, that's pretty much girl
tapas
dinner. Yes.
All of those are considered quote unquote girl dinner.
Yeah, so there are some questions about some different meals that from different countries that have been doing this for a long time,
thousands of years.
Yeah, thousands and thousands of years, exactly. And how this person on TikTok didn't even think about that or know about that. And so it's wild how it took off. I don't know why. I guess I was going to ask both of you, how could this happen? How could throwing things onto a plate to eat because you're too lazy to cook get a name of girl dinner?
I mean, I assume right off the bat that there's something that's supposed to be sort of either subversive, jokey, ironic, or kind of hilarious about it. Because you're reinforcing a very tired gender binary, but you're also subverting a gender stereotype about all kinds of different things. So I have to assume that it part of it is everything that kind of explodes on TikTok. There's a segment that doesn't understand that this is a joke. There's a segment that only knows it as a joke.
Yeah.
A segment that is just ironically enjoying it as a joke. And then another segment that's just pushing it to its next iteration.
Wow. This is the latest edition of wow, am I old? Because I don't know. I'm barely following what you're talking about. Last week, my sister and I went to see this musical show called Two Set Violin that I had never heard of. And she's like, oh, they're super popular, super famous. They're their YouTube account is crazy. And they're on this sold out world tour. And so we go and I read a little bit about their backstory. And my sister went an hour early and their merchandise was completely sold out. They'd sold out the first day at the Chan Center and had to book a second day. And it's two guys and Brett and Eddie. And they are extremely talented violinists. They both had jobs and they're Australian and they had jobs at the symphony orchestra in Sydney and stuff. And they started just, a YouTube channel where they're putting up performances and nobody was interested. And they started doing jokes and comedy with performances, like classical music inside jokes about like how much you have to practice and like the sort of woolen vests that you wear to do tests and stuff. And now they have like 1 million subscribers on YouTube and they're on this world tour. They quit their jobs at the symphony orchestra and now they just like go around the world doing their like comedy bits and playing classical music and people love them.
I've never heard of them.
Never heard of them. No.
I know.
That's exciting. I'm always excited that there's like, if I'm walking by a theater in downtown Vancouver and there's a lineup going around and I'm just like, and I look at the marquee, I'm like, I have no idea who this is. How are all these people out here? How did they find this out?
I love it. I really do. I love it. Like I mean, I know that's my job to know about some stuff sometimes, but I don't ever. I'm too old now to think that it's my job to know about all the things all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I've reached that real sweet spot. I don't know if that's 44 for everyone, but for me, the last 4 years, I'm just like, yeah, some things I need to know about and some things I don't. And that's okay. And then when I find out about them later, maybe I get really into it. Maybe these violinists are going to be my new like obsession.
Maybe they also branched out to a clothing line that sells like, I guess, ironic joke, like wool vests.
Uh-huh.
What's with the wool vest? Like, what does that mean? You have to wear these?
It's like it's a joke that it's like kind of considered for like children taking classical music tests. Their moms always put them in a vest, like over like a collared shirt to do their recitals.
Oh, okay, like a V-neck kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they made their own line of those vests and they're like completely sold out on the website. Like they have a clothing line website now that is just like their jokes.
I
merchandise.
want the vest, obviously. I don't really know if I want to listen to the music. I did see this funny tweet.
They're amazing violinists. They're very talented.
I saw this tweet from this guy who said, he was subtweeting like somebody talking about a couple breaking up that he'd never heard of. And he said, I'm 50 years old. All pop culture looks like to me is Snork went into the fort and he didn't know what it was going on.
Yeah, the whole evening was like my sister just like whispering like explanations of all the inside jokes they were doing in their stage show that went totally over my head.
Is your sister a violinist?
No, she just got obsessed with them on their YouTube channel somehow.
Okay, what, like Brett and Eddie?
Yeah, Brett and Eddie, and then put violin. I'll link to it I'll link to their page in the show notes. But
you said violin, there they are. Yeah, guess
they're
the
huge.
Violinist. Wow, I've got stuff to do after.
They play violin charades during their show. Like
You know that we've now lost Lisa for the rest of the podcast.
I know.
Sorry,
she's just going to be watching these YouTube videos.
I just got really excited.
I need to get my hands on a medium vest now.
I need this vest.
Good luck. Good luck.
Right? I know that's always so disappointing. I find and I sometimes feel bad about this, but I'll go to a show and I'm like, yeah, I'm excited, but get me to that merch table. That's where I really want to be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where they need you to be, so that's actually good.
Yeah.
Like you're doing the band a solid.
Yeah, and I was really impressed. I think I was mentioning this when I said I went to see The Cure, that their t-shirts were only $35.
Yeah.
Like, reasonable. I want to put this note out to anyone. Reasonably priced merch should be a new trend.
Agreed. Also, I don't believe, and this is just a personal opinion stated by me, I'm not asking the two of you to hold it, I don't think venues should take a cut of the merch.
Yeah, that is, yeah.
They're making so much money on the drinks. The band's not taking a cut of the drinks.
No. How does it, so the venue, like, are we talking like Rogers Arena or are we talking like Commodore Ballroom?
I'm pretty sure all the venues take a cut.
All the venues, hey? Yeah.
Pretty standard now. Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't seem particularly fair.
Have you seen?
But I'm just wondering if that's like sometimes why t-shirts are like astronomically priced versus
it's true. Yeah.
reasonably priced. And I know The Cure was like pushing back against ticket scalpers and stuff like that. So,
and I've seen all this stuff in the like on social media about the Taylor Swift merchandise, like how just people are lining up overnight to get her t-shirts from her Eras tour, and like there's like her fans, like there's certain prized merchandise. Like it's like if you get this specific thing, like it's like the unicorn of Taylor Swift merchandise. And yeah.
Can you just
it's
buy
like
it online?
I think you can buy some things online. I think some things are only available. That's
At
the thing.
show? Yeah.
At the show, yeah.
Well, I've noticed that a lot of like the one Cure t-shirt I wanted was sold out, which impressed me because I thought, oh my gosh, you guys must have ordered a lot. And it's sold
One
out.
would imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty impressive. There must be millions, wouldn't you think? No? Maybe that's too many.
Probably not the Cure, but I mean, there's definitely a lot.
I'll bet you millions of Taylor Swift t-shirts.
Yeah, definitely that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Did you hear that she's going to do a tour of France and it crashed Ticketmaster in France?
Wow.
And so she has to postpone her French tour because Ticketmaster's like taken down again.
No, I was hearing, is this like when I haven't looked at her touring schedule, like one thing we like when you get a band shirt, right, is you get all the dates on the back. And generally they're pretty close together. But from what I've understood, is it true that Taylor Swift's touring is just that she just every weekend she does a show and then she just carries on about her business throughout the week and then shows up for a show on the weekend?
You know what? She's a business genius, so I wouldn't question anything she does.
Yeah, I haven't looked into it. I don't know.
I heard that that she was just like that was the only way that she could feel like not crazy trying to do this
that
full
makes
tour.
Sense.
Yeah, and she could do that because I'm sure if there's anyone with a private jet, it's Taylor Swift.
Yeah. I feel like there's something very special about her and Beyonce being both on tour at the same time. Like, I have to imagine that they have to very strategically place themselves like a certain distance away because there's just, I mean, I think that they have each their own fans, but they have like fan crossover bases, of course, as well.
Holy cow.
But they also take up so much space and they would be playing the same venues. And I would just imagine it would be like quite, especially right now on tour at the same time, these two massive tours, like just having to sort of be a bit more strategic about planning like who's going to have what continent at what time.
Yeah.
Wow.
And just
Can you imagine who's going to have what continent?
Well, I just like letting the crossover fans like save up enough money again to pay like who knows how much money for tickets. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and all of the rest of it, like that, it's almost like it's a traveling show and it just leaves stories in its wake because there's been so many funny memes that have come out of all of the, cleaning up all the glitter on the ground after and tiaras and all that stuff. And then there's like my favorite little video was all the dads waiting outside. It was at a venue and they all looked exactly the same. And they were all waiting outside the Taylor Swift show. And that was probably my favorite.
Like I've seen all these videos of like people who couldn't get tickets to her show just standing outside the stadium and listening to the show. Like there's thousands of people standing outside stadiums.
Oh my gosh. Ooh. I don't know what happened. Something, because she's been around. It's not like she disappeared or something like that. But why? I mean, why this one? Why right now? Like, why is it so crazy?
This one, I think it's because of like the whole concept of eras and because she's done so many like re-recordings of her songs. So it's like a bunch of Taylor versions. So I think that this tour, and I don't know for sure, I feel like this tour though is like kind of like a like multi-decade spanning kind of thing. Like,
yeah.
How old is she? Yeah, she's been in the business for like 20 years. Mm-hmm. So I think this tour does span a couple decades of music. More so than maybe her previous tours do.
Right, yeah.
But she doesn't have any Canadian dates.
No, what's up with that, hey?
I've heard that as a
because our prime minister tweeted issue. Her?
Yeah. I mean, it's a little thirsty for my liking.
Yeah, but, I know, exactly. I didn't see them getting involved and Metallica didn't pick a Vancouver date.
I feel like eventually she'll come here. Why would you just turn down a ton of money? You know what I mean? Like, she's smart. She's not going to just overlook a ton of money.
Well, apparently her tour has already generated like literally $1 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's got its own GDP now. It's like the era's GDP.
No surprise.
Yeah, no surprise. I have Beyonce ticket, so I'm very excited about that. I'm looking forward to her.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, her continent.
Have you seen her live before?
I have.
Me too. I've seen her twice, so I did not attempt to get tickets because I thought, you know what? I've seen her twice. It was incredible both times. It's so much money this time.
Yeah, it'll be my 5th time seeing Iron Maiden as well, and I think they're right around.
I'm sure you'll see a lot of crossover crowd.
Yeah,
with those two shows.
I wonder. That is a good question.
I think there is like crossover crowd for sure. Like if you're into it, there's got to be at least another 5% crossover.
You think?
fan.
Yeah. Well, people who like live concerts. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Why not? Right? I think they should play together, but that's just me.
That would, honestly, Beyonce would be so good with Iron Maiden. Like that.
Yeah,
would be
right.
Great.
Wouldn't it be amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Boy, this conversation segued like nothing. I think we started with tomatoes and cheese.
You know what the thing is? We're always like in our future lives and in our past lives.
Well done.
Hi, I'm Andrea Warner.
And hola, I'm Lisa Christiansen.
I'm Andrea Gin.
And you're listening to Pop This, an extra long, fun intro for you. I'm really excited for what we're going to talk about tonight. I loved this movie. And it's okay if either of you didn't. I won't be offended. But I loved this movie so much. We're talking about Past Lives, which is in theaters right now if you're listening in the month of July 2023.
Yeah, I love this movie too.
Yay!
Yes,
I mean,
AG?
Yeah?
Yeah, like how could you not love this movie?
Okay, look, sometimes...
Honestly, you think we're monsters? Like,
Yeah.
what? Like, we don't...
I do now after looking at the outline where it turns out that Alison Wilmore did not care for the film as much as she should have.
Yeah.
No, I don't think you guys are monsters. I just think now anyone who didn't love this movie is kind of a part monster.
Well, what were they watching? Were they watching the same movie as I was? Because I was...
They felt it was an unconvincing love story.
And we're not allowed to swear on this podcast. So if I could, though, there would be a string of swear words.
Yeah. This was like, the whole time I was watching it, I was just thinking, God, we haven't seen a movie like this in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a movie that lingers on puddles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Glasses.
It's such a perfect sort of like, there's just like that hit of sort of like 90s kind of art house thing that's happening. Mm-hmm. And
well, a lot of people
feels really contemporary, but
a lot of people talk about Richard Linklater's Before trilogy, like reference that when they talk about this movie.
I can see it, but I think it's just because of the walking and the talking. And I mean, sorry, if you're going to compare it based on that, you could also say it's like The West Wing. Like, I think this is actually more sophisticated than the Before Sunrise trilogy.
I wonder how that would stand out. I haven't watched it in such a long time. I wonder...
Before Sunrise or The West Wing?
Well, both. But I'm talking about Before Sunrise.
We actually still owe ourselves and anyone listening who really cares about that trilogy. We promised we would do parts 2 and 3 because we did part 1 a long time ago.
Yeah, and that means you have to watch, so...
And we never did part 2 and part 3. So we should file that away for future.
Yeah, file that away. Yeah. But so this is like incredible to me that it's Celine Song's debut film.
Amazing.
Incredible.
Yeah. Wrote and directed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, like, you know, she's a playwright. Her background is as a playwright. Like, she's not, I don't know what training she had as a filmmaker, but, like, this is amazing that this
Well,
is
her
like,
father's a filmmaker. So, like, there are a lot of biographical details in the film that parallel the main character and Celine Song's own life.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
it's semi-autobiographical because she's also in real life married to a writer.
Yes.
Oh, but she's still married to the writer.
Well, I mean, I think the character in the film is still married to the writer too. Like,
Well,
I
for how
I
long?
Think,
I don't know.
I think forever. I think it is for. Anyway,
Oh,
okay, let's talk more about it. Let's
Wow.
talk. Yeah, we're gonna
Wow.
also spoil the hell out of this film, by the way. Because that's just what we're gonna do here. Yeah, I can't help it. I just love it so much. Anyway, Lisa, do you want to read the background?
Sure. As a child, background. Past Lives is a 2023 romantic drama film written and directed by Celine Song in her feature directorial debut. The film stars Greta Lee, Teo Yu, John Magaro, and follows a reunion between two childhood friends as they contemplate their relationship and their own lives. The film had its world premiere at the Sundance Film Festival on January 21st, 2023, and was released in the United States on June 2nd, 2023 by A24. It received almost universal acclaim from critics, singling out Song's direction and screenplay and the performances of Lee, Yu, and Magaro.
So, did you recognize Greta Lee right away from Russian Doll?
Yes, I knew, but I knew that going in.
Me too.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I really love her so much. So
Yeah.
I kind of
I was
follow
obsessed with her hair, her like perfect bob. Like she has the perfect bob in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Well, it
perfection.
changes, right, from when she's 24 to when she's 36, though, right? It makes it
a
better.
little bit, but it still is like so good.
Yeah,
like,
no, it is.
yeah,
It's even better the second incarnation, I think.
It's just like cut so perfectly to frame her face. Like, yeah.
Yeah. AG, do you want to read the synopsis?
Sure. As a child in South Korea, Na Young crushes on another boy in her class, Hae Sung. Their relationship is just starting when her parents decide to move to Canada. The two childhood friends drift apart as their lives move on in different countries. 12 years later, Na Young, now Nora, is an aspiring playwright in New York City. Hae Sung is an engineering student back in Seoul who never stopped thinking about his childhood sweetheart. The pair reconnect over Facebook, and soon their lives revolve around regular Skype calls, time differences be damned. However, with no sign that either of them is willing to upend their early careers, the stream of video calls stop. Nora and Hae Sung's lives continue over another 12 years before they reconnect again. Hae Sung finally visits New York City and brings up all the feelings they thought they had left behind. And that's from Monica Castillo from RogerEbert.com. Sigh.
Yeah.
Sigh. I mean, look, I'll be very like frank and honest. I love Hae Sung, but I was so happy that the film did not devolve into them giving in to like something as simple as a kiss. Like it was, there was so much more tension and sort of delicious angst in the way that they just stare into each other's eyes, and then he gets in the car to leave, and then she collapses into like tears.
Yeah, well, you skipped right to the
wow.
end.
You just
you
were
just
like,
skipped right to the
I
last,
know.
literal
I know.
last minute.
I'm going to
know.
spoil this movie and I'm going to spoil it immediately.
Yes.
I'm going to spoil it immediately. I just because I just think that is such a good, bold, phenomenal choice for this filmmaker on her first film.
Yeah.
Like,
I
can
mean,
you imagine
how
the test
many
screenings of this film just being like, how are they not together? What is that? You know what I mean?
To bookend this, I have to say it was one of the best beginnings of a movie I've ever seen. I thought that was so clever.
So good.
Just that scene, that voiceover, trying to figure out what the relationship. This is a movie I hope everyone listening has getting this sense that you have to go see it right now. Like you absolutely have to go.
That part of the movie reminded me, like it seemed to me a lot of Sofia Coppola kind of
I noticed that too. Yeah.
influences too.
Yeah.
And I was thinking like Lisa's really going to like this.
Oh yeah, and I did. I was right in there. Yeah.
I love it when Greta Lee looks directly at the camera and she's in on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is like, the character is a playwright. The character is setting up all of this. Like, there's a nice bit of sort of like meta-ish commentary in that moment. Plus, I am so guilty of trying to figure out people's relationships when I'm like people watching in bars and like just trying to figure out like the body language dynamics and like what's happening and like what's going on. That's one of my favorite games to play. I
Really?
love it.
Wow. Yeah.
Love it.
Well, yeah, anyway, I just have to say, I even knew, like, I didn't know where the movie was going to go, but I thought, this is so clever because then we go and then we're in Seoul and they're kids. And so we know somehow, like, we've got that inevitability that they're going to get together again somehow, but it's wondering what's going to happen in between. I love that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And I don't know, like thinking about how this kind of made me think about Everything Everywhere All at Once. This is like another A24, like they're both A24 releases. And I don't know, like there's something about the zeitgeist of both movies that are talking about like different lives not chosen.
Yes.
And I just find that so interesting is like, you know, two kind of unrelated films otherwise like are kind of talking about the same ideas.
Yeah, just like the thematic idea of the ifs and whats and if onlys, etc. And I think like I don't know, and I think everyone, maybe not everyone, but a lot of people at some point sort of like are introduced to the concept of like past lives and like that we are like sort of like these iterations of ourselves. And, you know, not that everyone believes that at all, because lots of people believe, you know, one and done, etc. But there's like, you know, a lot of folks who like to imagine that not even just past lives, but like parallel lives. So like there's multiple timelines and there's all kinds of things going on, you know? And I like these movies that are so grounded in the intimacy of actual feelings paired with the hypothetical and philosophical and sort of like wild physics of time play. Like, I don't know. That's a very appealing overlap to my interests specifically. Because of like, for the longest time, I had like a lot of deja vu a lot, like when I was younger, and I used to never, ever remember my dreams. So like, I kind of like thought that I time traveled in my dreams. And like, that's why there was so much deja vu going on. Yeah. I should probably be studied at some point, but it's just my mild narcissism. Truly.
Lisa, were you laughing out loud at the word mild or?
Fair enough. But I was also going to say that this felt very much to me a story about immigration and what you lose, what you're saying goodbye to, because there was so many beats of, I'm going to win a Nobel Prize, I'm of this new world. And I think that anyone who has, you know, family that has immigrated to a new country for a better life. I mean, that's what my family came from Denmark. They were like, the war's over. We're done. We're sick of this place. We're going for a better life. And I think that I've always had that in my head, that everything here is supposed to be a better life. And even when I went back to see the place and I said to my uncle, I love Denmark. And he went, oh, forget it. Like he had to leave that place and make a conscious effort to say, that's not part of my life anymore. And I noticed that so much watching her story, that even though she was connecting with him back in Seoul when they were 24 and she's in New York, there was still very much a conscious decision where she was, I've left that place.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I think the idea of past lives is so much more dramatic when like you or your family have changed countries, because there is a real sense that like, what would happen if I stayed in an entirely different country and spoke a different language? And, You know what I mean? Like you can imagine that your life would be completely different versus growing up in the same place. And like what you think about is like, oh, I like, what if I went to this different school or got a different job or whatever? Like it's not the same.
Yeah. And I think like I think it's also extremely interesting that we have her. She talks about this a couple times about like Hae-sung's masculinity, and she talks about him as like being so quote Korean and like what she defines as being like so Korean versus where she's at, having sort of like Americanized like her name and like Americanized her life. And she talks about immigrating twice, and like there's another component to all of this that I thought actually was really really powerful to see, because I don't think we see it that often. Like at no point do we ever see Nora and her ambition being like painted as bad. Like her ambition is always just allowed to be her ambition. She has goals, she has dreams, she has all of these things. She points out that she immigrated twice to achieve these things. Like these are the things that she wants. And I feel like, you know, there's moments where you see her wish she could divide herself into 2 or 3 or 4 and live a multiplicity of lives and past lives and forward lives and stuff. But like that really, this is like what she wants. And I just love that this movie like never condemns this like young creative woman for wanting the artistic life that she wants.
There's only really one scene just to talk about the cost of that move, is when she first arrives at the new school in Canada and she's standing alone in the playground and everyone's playing around her. And then we just jump the 12 years right there. Just that quick scene of how like all that she lost. I mean, that's as much as you have all these dreams, you lost all of like who you are for a while until you create a new person. All those people, all the customs, everything. I mean, and then, you know, I love that scene too, where, and it never occurred to me, and it's interesting, the discussion about what like you said, the new name, what's our new name's going to be? And, you know, that was super interesting.
Well, and to go back to, I'm so sorry, AG. I just want to, like, and to go back to the point, like how I jumped to the end in the beginning about the weeping, like how she, apparently when she was a little girl and with Hae-sung all the time, she cried every day. And then she has this like heartbreaking talk about how when she moved to Canada and she still cried every day, but no one cared. And so she just learned to stop crying. And like, I think she ends up telling her husband about this too. And he can't imagine her being like someone who cries all the time, because that's just something she locked away. And then after Hae-sung has been back in her life for this short time, you know, she's really like sort of like back in her feelings in a really, really significant way. And I don't know. This script is so smart, and Greta Lee is so good. Like her face is just doing 1,000 things at once, and it's incredible.
Yeah, well, I mean, when we watched Russian Doll, you got a sense that like she was bigger than that part.
Yes,
for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's what made Russian Doll so good, because all the parts were as good as anything, and that's why this movie is so good. Like, we're isolating the script, but also the acting, also the visuals. It had everything working for it, I think.
Well, and you know, like it's also like the character of Arthur, who could easily just have been, you know, like a stereotype, is actually like a really nuanced character,
for sure,
and a very like interesting dude, and who doesn't react the way that you would assume someone in his position would react.
That I have to say, and one of the things this movie was really great at, also was the long scenes, like how we would, you know, do something and then there would be quite a long scene, and that scene of her brushing her teeth, talking about meeting up with Hae-sung again. Was he attractive? I mean, yeah, sure. In his own sort of Korean way, he was attractive. And you could just see the husband starting to get so like should I be worried here? Is this something that I should be cautious about? Is something going on? Like, it was such an interesting building, that scene with her just brushing her teeth and getting ready for bed and their little ritual.
But I mean, what's interesting is that he kind of like processes it and works through it.
Yeah,
and we watch him do that, right? Like, you can sort of sense that he's uncomfortable with it, but you can also sense that he's like working through it.
Yeah. And I feel like I really like, I do like how I really love the, I think you said nuanced AG, and like that it's a very like, I mean, all of the characters are extremely nuanced, but I love that they're not going to go in like some sort of like toxic machismo kind of direction at all. Like they're
where the two dudes end up fighting on the sidewalk.
Yeah, like nothing like that. Like it's so much more, it's just so much more meaningful than that. But like, I do think Arthur's sort of like, this is going to sound weird. Like one of the things I really liked is that the story keeps Nora and Hae-sung in focus. And I loved that. And I actually really, the longer that they converse in Korean at the bar, with literally her back to Arthur, keeping like, and she shoots him out of like, the filmmaker like puts Arthur out of frame. Like the longer that goes on, and you know, you're sort of joining in the forgetting that Arthur is there, but you also know, because Arthur has proven that he understands more Korean than he speaks, so he's listening to this whole conversation, and like there's something so grown up and emotionally magnificent about the dialogue that's happening. And when Hae-sung like eventually says, like, he's talking about like he says to her like, you're a person who leaves, but to Arthur you're a person who stays. And like, just I'm clumsying up the line, but like I burst into tears. Like I had already cried a little bit previously, but I was like, oh my god, you know. And it was that is a masterclass in a finale, that 2-part bar scene and then the street scene. Like, just, oh my god.
I think it's, until now, I didn't like the parts with Arthur. I was more, I'm not saying he was a comical figure, but I'm saying
he had his moments.
Yeah, well, but I felt like he was living through some sort of like the ending in Sixth Sense, spoiler, where Bruce Willis finds out he's dead, and he goes through all the images that show that, all along. Well, when they start going through all of the things about their marriage, and she's like, yeah, we had to speed it up for my green card. So, and it's like, oh, that's romantic sounding. And then he's like, would you have fallen in love with, like, you could have married anyone. What if anyone had been at that writer's retreat? And you can see her kind of like, no, that's fair. Like, she didn't bother arguing with him.
Yeah, like, theirs isn't a grand romance, but theirs is a romance where they choose each other again, day in and day out.
Well, but I get a sense that she is a great love to him, and I get a sense to her, he's a good guy, you know.
Well, and you know, this movie does nothing to dispel like sort of the idea that writers' retreats are just places where writers like go to hook up.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, I will. So I saw it with a few friends, and the one thing that we all clocked immediately was when she goes to the bookstore and he's doing his book signing, and his novel is called Boner.
Yeah,
I saw that.
And
that was just like so incongruous. It was like,
but it's like so perfect for like white fiction, like white guy in your MFA, like that's like such a perfect sort of construct there. And so they give him a bit more nuance than that, which was, I think, generous. I do think we spend a couple, like when they're lying in bed together and he's sort of talking about how she dreams in Korean and he doesn't, like, that's why he's learning Korean kind of thing, you know, like I think we spend I feel like I could have dealt with like 2 minutes less of that particular scene maybe, because I don't need more of Arthur's feelings necessarily in this movie. I'm fine sort of like having his feelings represented, but I don't need more of them. You know what I mean? I was quite content to have Nora and Hae Sung realize that it's a fantasy, and it's like it's the realness of their love for each other is fine, but anything beyond this sort of connection that they feel is just a fantasy, and I don't think it would hold up to like the day in day out scrutiny of a real relationship.
Well, where's your sense of romance? Because in my mind, he's not going to get on that plane.
Oh, you think they're
Really?
getting together?
Yeah, I do.
Oh,
Oh,
so
that's so. My takeaway was that, like, Hae Sung is kind of like just this like a vessel for all of her longing of like missing Korea, missing the culture, and missing like everything. It's not necessarily like him, but like he represents everything,
He's
right?
a good-looking
That she
man.
left behind.
Did we all notice that?
oh, he's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like no argument from me.
But yeah,
I know he's
because
no
like there's a
Arthur,
part there's a part where she says that like, you know, like he's in love with this little girl that she once was, and she's
But that's
not that
not
person.
entirely true, and that's not entirely fair. I think she's trying to find ways to talk herself out of it, because they spent, when she was 24, they were like, I don't know what the time frame was of how much they were Skyping, but it sure looked like a lot. It looked like over several months.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that they had built up kind of an emotional affair, but like I think the fact that like she went back to Korea for her honeymoon, contacted him, he never got in touch with her.
Right.
And I understand why he didn't. I just think like I really truly think that we get exactly who she is from a young age, in that she feels things, but she is the one who leaves. And so she does not have the same sense of attachment to him that he has to her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That long delayed look before the Uber pulled up was pretty incredible.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing with you. Like I think
And
that
what would
was
have happened
incredible.
if the Uber hadn't pulled up is what I'm asking you. It did pull up and it broke that spell.
I think it would have just like I think
Yeah.
her walking back, weeping, and then collapsing in her husband's arms
Yeah.
makes for maybe some conversations about
Ooh,
like
there's some big
your marriage.
conversations. Yeah.
But ultimately Arthur and her are friends. Like they really do seem to care about each other, like in a deep way. Like she's the bomb, and both men know that. And like she's
But
got
I
options.
I felt like both she and Arthur kind of understood that like her weeping was about being devastated about like the life that she doesn't have. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they work through it.
I think that's a big pill for poor Arthur to swallow.
But he realizes it's nothing like he can do, or
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's not about them.
But that's
It's
the thing.
like-
I don't think Arthur thinks it's anything to do with him or what he's lacking.
Yeah.
It's just this like
100%
that's the thing. Like,
it
that's-
is. He knows he's lacking, and he's looking right at this man that represents all of this to her, like this part of her that he doesn't even know anything about. Like he said, you dream in Korean.
Yeah, but he's learning Korean. He's like, I think he understands a lot. Like when he's talking to Hae Sung in Korean, like I think Arthur is doing what he can to seem like to convince himself that he's worth this woman.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I
But
would.
like,
Yeah.
but also
Okay, so
like
maybe he gets on the plane, but I still think they start communicating again.
Oh, I don't think they
I
ever
don't think
talk
so.
again.
Oh,
because
really?
I think she's so committed to her New York life. And
yeah.
she's like, there's no way I'd miss practices for anything or rehearsals for anything.
That's the thing. I think she goes and writes this movie. And that's why she gives us the look at the camera, because this is her love letter to Korea, to her younger self, to Hae Sung. Like, you know, I do think he is representative of something so much more, which makes it kind of like a very unbalanced relationship on both sides, because he's representing something massive, and she's representing like a tenderness that he is holding out for so that he doesn't have to, you know, maybe.
Well, I like to think that they communicate again. I like to think that that's a side of herself that she wants to keep alive.
But do you think that they can be friends after that? All the different sort of like confessions?
No, I don't think so. I think it'll be very bad.
So how do they communicate? Like, so she leaves Arthur.
No, I don't know. Well, yeah, I mean, ultimately, I don't see her staying with Arthur.
Okay.
I just feel like that ship has sailed. Like, they have acknowledged that that's how it feels. I mean, maybe Arthur's like can suck it up a lot better than I could.
I think that's what we're meant, even though he's written a novel called Boner, where I think we're meant to understand that he is a man with like just high emotional like intelligence around this relationship. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, good
Yeah,
for you,
I
Arthur,
think so,
because
too.
I don't think I could do that.
But there's not like that's the thing that's so great about this movie, is that there's this idea that they're in competition, like Hae Sung and Arthur, but they're not, because like the most important thing to Nora is her art and her work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
no. Exactly. Yeah.
so like,
And Arthur's okay
there's
with
not
that?
a point. There's no point in Arthur. Like Arthur already knows that about her, and Hae Sung knows that about her too. Mm-hmm. So there's no competition between the two of them, because they can't compete with her first love, which is her work.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, you just
I love
summed
that
it up
message.
real
I'm
perfectly.
So sorry.
Wow.
That was a perfect
In my fantasy
summary.
world.
She makes room for.
Yeah. That she doesn't give up.
For
And
Hae Sung?
she communicates with him still.
I mean, yeah, I can see like if as she goes to write this
Not that it would be a
script
good
that we
idea.
watched.
Not that it's a good
No,
idea.
I like to think that Hae Sung just moves on with his life and he finds a love, and like he goes on to lead a happy life. That's
I hope he does too.
yeah.
I don't think
deserves
he should
that.
get back together with the girlfriend that he just broke up with, because
Obviously,
I don't
that
know,
wasn't
if you've
good.
been together 10 years and then you have to take a break to figure
Yeah.
out whether you want to be together.
Yeah.
I think that's your answer, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
Like maybe I'm wrong, but
Well, let's ask Arthur. Seems to be the relationship guru here. So.
I just think that it's just it's not their love story. It's the love story is the actual movie that we watch, which is what Nora gives to herself, and then I guess that means Celine Song gave it to herself, and therefore
Well, I don't know how I now here's okay.
Well, I mean,
this is a funny
yeah.
scenario. Her
She
Arthur
ha-
watching this movie.
Again, I think he would be fine with it, because like he gets it.
Yeah.
He is a writer named Justin Koritskis. He is also an
there's-
American playwright and
And they're
novelist.
still married.
Yep,
So he had to sit through
So-
this movie.
Yep.
for sure.
Okay. Wow.
But again, I don't think the types of characters that these people are, we have to divorce them for like what maybe our own feelings might be, because they both understand. For her, it's about her writing and her art.
Well,
They're just going to be second and third to her.
Lisa,
and
you
that's
can
okay.
you can have your ending too.
Oh, for sure. You have your ending.
yeah.
you just like to burst my bubble.
I mean,
You're a bubble burster.
I had
Well,
a
yeah,
very.
that's a known thing.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Isn't that what all three of us do? Or is it just me?
Yeah. Well.
Just me? Sorry, mostly me.
Mostly.
You're the hard practical one.
God, can you imagine that? That's my role, the hard practical one.
You see, you're like, call the shots as they are. Boom, boom. That's you.
That's right. Real Talk with Andrea Warner. You're listening to Real Talk with Andrea
You've
Warner.
said that before. You've said before,
I have.
like with people like somebody in a relationship, and you're like, they got to get out of this. It's just there's no future, and I tell them that.
I know.
And I'm like,
I do.
who wants to hear that? Nobody wants to hear that.
Most people don't, but then don't come to me and ask me what I think.
Yeah, there we go.
Arthur would want to hear that, I feel like.
I think Arthur gets it.
Yeah.
Arthur gets it.
Yeah.
More importantly, Nora gets it, and so does Hae Sung. All three of these people are on the same page by the end of the film.
The only one who doesn't get it, you're saying, is Lisa.
Well, I mean, luckily you're not a character in this film. Like, you're just a
Obviously,
character.
yes.
You're just a character in the ephemera of the people experiencing this film in a different meta universe.
Yeah. Okay.
In which your past life is telling you
Yeah.
that you saw a slightly different film.
Yeah, go be with that Denmark pen pal that you've been corresponding with.
Yeah.
Oh my God, do you have
right.
a Danish pen pal that you've been corresponding
No,
with?
I did have I did have a pen pal in New Zealand when I was growing up, but that's a whole other thing. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you get a pen pal in New Zealand?
Because my neighbors were from New Zealand, and they had I think it was their niece needed a pen pal, and so we started corresponding. But Jackie was way better at it than me. She was really artistic, and she would draw these little flowers everywhere and amazing pictures, and I was like, "Dear Jackie."
Oh my God, you're Nora and she's Hae Sung.
Yeah, exactly.
She was much more in it. If you just think about them as children, even like they have their like hangout, which is great, and it's like really, it's a cute whatever date, and they hold hands in the backseat of the car, and it's really sweet. And then like the next day at work, she's just casually dropping that she's like moving to America, has not told him at all, and he's just like. Cool. So upset and so hurt, and like this is their pattern for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, no kidding. No, absolutely. She even calls off when they're corresponding, like, I can't do this anymore. Yeah, exactly.
So we already said this at the beginning, but do we think this movie pops?
Big pops. Yes.
Huge pops.
Love this
Huge
movie.
pops.
Yeah.
Do go see this movie. Yeah.
Yeah. I know we've ruined it all, but honestly, I hope also we've like made it just like a case for how incredible it is.
That it could elicit that much conversation. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because often when all three of us like something, it's a bit dead in the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The conversation is just like, yeah, we love this, but I think that this movie, like one of the things that's so successful about it is it keeps so much tension in the film that tension can then inform our conversation about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Mark of a great film. Yeah.
Truly. Whew, let's go on my list of best debuts, guys.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a list, but I'm going to start one now.
I mean, she's some kind of filmmaking genius for this to be her first film.
It's
Truly.
too much.
Yeah.
Too much.
We also love to end our episode on something else we recommend in the world. Lisa, do you want to go first?
Sure. I just started reading this tremendously fun book. It's called Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead. And it has got two timelines going on at the same time. One is an actress who is playing the part of the woman who is in the past. So the woman in the past has obviously died. And so we have the young actress who I feel is Kristen Stewart. So it's the way she's described. Anyway, it was shortlisted for the Booker Prize a couple of years ago. And it's a real like fun yarn. Like it's quite a thick one though too.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm just enjoying it so much. And I highly recommend it.
That's awesome. Thank you. AG, what about you?
I want to recommend the work of this illustrator. I saw she was at Got Craft a few months ago. And I'm just like, I bought like a print, and I have it framed on my wall. And her illustrations are so colorful. And she was an architect and decided to go to Emily Carr and get take the illustration certificate or whatever degree it's called. And now she's an illustrator, and her name's Javi Rolando, and she lives, I guess, in Nanaimo or Vancouver, but her studio is called Nanaimo. And she does primarily like she'll draw these like beautiful, and her illustrations are all centered around women, and they're like so colorful, and she's printed them on scarves that she sells on her website, and I'll link it for everybody because you have to see her work. It's like so beautiful. There's like an astrology one that's sold out on the website that I'm sure A-dubs would be obsessed with. But yeah, and she also does like customized illustrations. Like you can email her and sort of, I guess, send her a photo and she'll make it into an illustration. It's very cool stuff.
That's awesome.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I would like to recommend, so I'm sure I've recommended this podcast in the past because I've loved it for a long time, and it's done by someone who has become a friend, which is really nice. We met in person at the Vancouver Podcast Festival. Helen Zaltzman's podcast, The Illusionist. It's ALLUSIONIST. And Helen has a two-part podcast of The Illusionist dedicated to Eurovision.
Oh, wow.
It's so fun. I found out so much more about Eurovision than I had ever really known. Like, yes, of course, I've watched the movie with Rachel McAdams and Will Ferrell, which I also enjoy quite a bit. But getting to really understand Eurovision in a meaningful way through like
as we all should,
and just like how it's come to be, how it's come to have this sort of like kind of global reputation, and yet still sort of very uniquely and specifically European, and I guess non-European now that some people don't belong to Europe. Anyway, it's great. And I just think if you've never listened to The Illusionist, start with this two-parter about Eurovision. It's fantastic.
Nice.
Amazing.
So thanks everyone for listening. You could hang out with us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, until it collapses, I guess.
Will we be going on to Threads? Did I already ask that question? Will we be?
God, I don't personally have the energy, because you know what? If you expand to Threads, apparently right now, and then you decide you don't want to, you have to delete your Instagram account.
Oh, right. You sent me that. Yeah.
So
I think we established at the beginning of the podcast that we're all old.
Yeah.
and not ready for new social media networks.
I gotta say, and I just feel like I didn't even send the artwork for this week's episode until AG prompted me at like 4:00. She had forgot to, like, she hadn't posted the, like, we've got too many things going on.
Yeah, we're going on. We can't,
social media
that's
site.
fair. That's
You're writing
fair.
like 6 books at once. So.
Yeah. There's too much.
Yeah.
Honestly, it'll be a real miracle if we have any presence online at all, save for the, but you know what? Still, come find us and hang out. I'm sure it'll be a good time.
Yeah, we'll have a lot of fun. And thanks to Andrea Gin, our producer and co-host here. And thank you all for listening. And I do hope you get out to see past lives and drop us a line. Let us know what you think. Tell me if
From
you
the
don't
future.
think, that Arthur is out of the picture. Just please tell me.
Oh my God. Yeah. If you have seen the version of the movie that Lisa saw, please let us know.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah, we want to hear it.
I want to know. I love it. I just really had not considered that. So you've really given me something to think about. Am I too cold? Am I too negative?
I can tell by the look on Lisa's face, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, but like, that's fine.
That's fine. That's cool. That's cool.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.